Hey guys, it's Shaylin, and I'm here today with another video. So right now, I just wanted to film an intro to kind of a different kind of video. So I wanted to try this new format of video where I do like a speed write, where I screen cap myself writing and also film my commentary. So it's like a write with me, but you can actually see what I'm writing. I don't know, I thought it would be interesting to try to actually show what my workflow looks like. There are just a few things I wanted to mention though before I get into the video. So first of all, this is a rewrite of my short story Melting Point. It's a story that I wrote in the fall of 2016 and I posted it on my website over a year ago. So in that time, I've really decided that I wanted to rewrite the story. It was the first serious short story I wrote. Like, I'd written stories before, but I consider it my first story because it's the first one I ever really took seriously and edited significantly. The first story I ever wrote that I plan to go in my collection. Despite you guys leaving really, really lovely feedback on the story, like, it's very lovely, very meaningful. I was very touched when I posted the story and got so many lovely comments. It has been a long time. When I wrote this story, I didn't really understand short fiction. I hadn't been reading short fiction. It was a school assignment and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know short stories, and also I wasn't as strong a writer. So because it's been so long, I think I'm just gonna rewrite the story, starting from scratch with my more advanced knowledge of short fiction. I think will just make it stronger structurally because I'm not too happy with the structure. I think it's a little too flashback heavy. So a few things that I'm changing in the story from the original are trying to contextualize the story more rather than using so many flashbacks because I don't like how flashback heavy the first half of the story is. I'm also changing the point of view. So the original draft was in first person present tense. Now it's in first person past tense. The reason for the past tense is to help with the contextualization. And I'm also using a first-person referral, or first-person directed, so the brother, Clay, is going to be referred to as you. I feel comfortable recording the entire process for the story because I've already shared it online, so I'm not really worried about spoilers. But if you don't want to be spoiled, you can read the original draft, but just be aware that it is old writing, so it's not really up to my full standard. A couple other things I want to mention. This is obviously a first draft. Like, what you're reading in the video is me just pouring out a first draft. Yes, I make typos. Yes, it's not perfectly polished. I've just had videos in the past where people don't understand the concept of these kinds of things. Like when I made my video of myself line editing old work, people were leaving comments like, haha, I knew you were a bad writer. I'm like, did you not catch the part where this is writing that is literally 8 years old from when I was 13? I'm not putting this up here to say that what is being shown is good writing, because it's obviously a first draft. It's just to showcase the workflow. On my blog, I've mentioned a few times that I was planning on rewriting Melting Point, and people got very sweet and said, don't rewrite Melting Point. It's perfect as it is. But it's really not. Obviously, the grade I get on a story is not the full determinant of what a story's worth. Like, a story is not just worth its grade. However, I do trust my professor's judgment in grading me, and I think her grading is fair. When I first handed Melting Point in, it was the first story I ever wrote, I got 67 on the first draft, which was the class average in my workshop. And then I edited it, and I got 83 on the final draft, and I was quite happy with that 83. The final story I ever handed into that professor, which was my story Kudzu Girls, I got 90 on the first draft. Like, the difference over a year's worth of time, and why I feel like this story isn't up to my current standard. But I can also see when I read it on a technical level, things that I want to fix. I filmed this video on a day my computer was having a day. My computer was not too happy. It was out of disk space, and it was just, the fan was just going, so unfortunately the fan is kind of loud. I'm really sorry about that, but most unfortunately, the thing I'm most salty about is that my screen recording stopped working halfway through. I can't refilm that, like, that was my live writing process. It can only do that one time. So unfortunately I lost that part for half the video, which makes me super salty, but I will put up the document so you can see what I'm talking about, because it really only, my commentary only makes sense if you can see the words. They're still completely unedited. I haven't read the draft over since I filmed the video. And then the last thing I just want to say before you jump into watching this video is that This is a story that does have some potentially upsetting content. Originally was going to put trigger warnings up at the points in the video, but because my screen is always up, it's just a constant thing. So I think I'm just going to say it now. If any of this content would be sensitive for you, then maybe I wouldn't watch the video. This story is about two twins burning down a house together, so there is arson later on. Haven't gotten to that part yet. This story does feature violence, both physical and emotional abuse. There's a brief depiction of self-harm, and also drug abuse. It is the intention of the story for it to be disturbing, but if you're particularly sensitive to any of the content, I just wanted to give a warning for that. And now we will jump into the actual write with me portion of the video. Hey guys, so I'm just switching over to my camera now. So right now I'm going to be recording my screen. Sorry for my laptop humming at the moment. As I'm talking, I will kind of combine the two things and hopefully it'll all make sense. So on my screen right now, I have the two documents. So I have the original story, then I also have the rewrite. As you can see, my new one has an epigraph, which I just kind of did to give myself some motivation because I love epigraphs. I'm just gonna move this lamp out of the way. Sorry the lighting sucks, it's really dark out right now, and I didn't feel like setting up lights for a vlog, TBH. So the epigraph I picked was, "With this bullet lodged in my chest, covered with your name, I will turn myself into a gun, because it's all I have, because I'm hungry and hollow and just want something to call my own." From Richard Siken's Wishbone. I think Richard Siken's poetry, especially from Crush, has the feeling that I want this story to have. It's very violent, it's very intense, it's very stressful, and I think it's very overwhelming. There's this sense of panic and throughout, and so I decided to epigraph it. I generally delete my epigraphs once I'm done the story, but I find using one kind of motivates me. I don't know why. It's a stupid part of my writing process, but it's something that I do. To start off, I'm playing a song that actually someone recommended to me on Tumblr, 137 by Brand New. Someone sent me an ask saying that they thought it reminded them of Melting Point, that they'd read it while reading Melting Point and it was the perfect vibe, and I listened to it and it honestly was. So I'm going to listen to it as I write now. I've also kind of decided, this is kind of random, but I think I want to use a lot of onomatopoeia in the story. Like, I want to give the story a bit of a stronger voice to separate it from my usual voice. I do like the voice in the first story, but I just want to kind of enhance it. So it's like the voice in the original on acid, basically. I think I'm gonna cross off anything that I use in the original draft so that I know what I've used. You guys are also gonna see how many typos I make as I write, and you're gonna see what first draft writing looks like right out of nothing, out of the void. I just realized I just wrote a page and I never have been referring to Clay as you. So now I have to go back and change that. Okay, so I can't see that sentence. This sentence was in the original. You'd think he'd try a little harder to hide the pyrotooth mania, but he paraded it around on his fingertips. But I can't say you'd think you'd try a little harder. I guess that would be I should change that to I'd think you'd try a little harder to hide the pyrotooth mania. He paraded it around on your fingertips. You gave your fire a kiss, too intimate and abusive for me to watch. Okay. You should quit, I told you, telepathic. This is gonna take me a while to get used to. I'm so used to referring to Clay as he, not you. A couple points in the original draft where Clay is referred to as you. And I kind of was like, oh, those are the most key moments of the story. The entire story should be like this. Like, there's the beginning, what was it? Don't leave fingerprints on your lungs, don't leave evidence, what kind of arsonist are you? And then there's also this sentence at the end of the story, which is, what is it? Your witch trial has arrived, show me what you're made of, brother. And he's referred to as you there, so I'm trying to do that throughout the entire story now, but I'm definitely going to forget to do it because I'm just not used to that. It's telling me halogenic isn't a word. I'm so confused. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe it's not a word, but we're making it a word now. I make so many typos, like, literally, it's insane. You guys are gonna see how many typos I make as I write. Oh my god. I do know how to spell, I just don't know how to type properly. Oops, I'm writing in present tense again. Actually, I don't think I'm just gonna end that there. There we go. Okay, so now I'm basically done that first scene. And I'm on to a scene, I'm on to flashback. So this scene's gonna be quite different. I don't know how much I'm gonna keep. So yeah, in the original they're 19, and so in this flashback, which happens just like a couple hours before the beginning, which is in media res, they're at their parents' house, but in this new draft it's not. The parents won't be there. It's just gonna be the two of them, and so it's gonna be quite different from what was in this one. But then I guess, okay, I'm just gonna have to figure out how this scene works as I write it, because I'm not sure logistically how certain things fit together. But this is pantsing. It's so weird. I feel like I'm pantsing a story, but I've already written it. It's very strange. Apparently I don't know how to spell the word sludgy. Also don't know if I need that adjective. I always use too many adjectives when I'm drafting. So it's like 9:30. I just took a quick break from writing to go get food because I was honestly really hungry. Like a bout of hunger just struck me. I realized I had like a really early dinner / late lunch and I was like starving. So I just made some oatmeal because that's like the quickest thing you can make. And I also made myself a cup of tea. But for now I'm just going to continue and see what I get done today. Yeah?
I've come to take a book.
What book? You just take my book.
I've come to ask to take a book.
Which book?
Elantris.
Oh, you can have Elantris. It's right here.
See, that's why I wasn't going to ask first, because I knew you'd give it to me.
I found it on my bookshelf. It was literally on your bookshelf for months and you never read it.
Yeah, I know, but this time I read Warbreaker. It's the last book I have left in the Cosmere.
Have you read all the novellas?
Yes. And it's supposed to be the first one you read in the Cosmere. And I'm reading it last.
Well, enjoy. It's not bad, but it's my least favorite Brandon Sanderson book, I will say. But I found it a little boring at times. But it's still good. Anyways, can you close my door?
No.
You're such a poo head. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Correct.
This is the sibling relationship that inspired this story. I'm just kidding. When I first had this story workshopped, I was telling a story about myself and my brother. My prof asked us about our siblings on the break, and I mentioned my brother. And she was like, oh, it's really uncomfortable having to workshop your story now after I just learned you had a brother. So she's describing a wound to her hand from my, like, I want to say trauma, like when you're describing a trauma wound. Ugh, what is it? Also, why is my computer so fucking slow? It literally has been so slow today, and I don't know why. I'm actually concerned. I'm just gonna use the word traumatized and bold it to let myself know that it's not the word I want, but I just don't know what the word is right now. I definitely describe the sky way too often in my writing, especially my short stories. I want a word that's similar to molten, but is not molten. I don't know if I'm supposed to capitalize drug name. This sentence, there was something numbing my blood, oxy or ketamine or alcohol. I don't know if I'm supposed to capitalize oxy or ketamine. So right now, I'm just including this detail that is so fucked up. It's something that I feel like, I don't know why I thought of it, but I thought of it a couple days ago, and I was like, I feel like this is something that she would do, and it's really messed up. It's like a gaslighting thing that she does. Smashes her face into countertops or doors or whatever. Basically gaslight people into thinking that they did it. Like, she says that she used to do it whenever she got in a fight with a boyfriend. Like, give herself a black eye. Tell him that, like, he punched her or whatever. And it's so messed up. It's so unhealthy, but it's part of what I think the story needs is more glimpses into this incredibly unhealthy person and show that this rivalry that these two characters have, that they hate each other so much, and they're twins, so like it's really a projection of wanting to destroy themselves, but they don't want to destroy themselves, they want to destroy the other. Can't really assimilate into normal society, they can't hold any sort of healthy relationship. Their characters are definitely, I think, a lot more messed up than they were in the first draft, which is saying something because they were pretty messed up at the first draft. Now I just described a wrist. Some of my friends know about my writing, which is that I describe a lot of wrists in my writing. It's kind of an inside joke among my cohort, but we kind of felt like our prof had this thing about wrists. Like we noticed a couple times where she would be like, describe a wrist. Several of us were like, oh my god, when you catch a wrist fetish from your prof, and now you're like so into wrists. And now, like, I can't go an entire story without describing a wrist. So here's a wrist. And we would jokingly say that we would add wrists into our stories to, like, appease our prof, which isn't true. Like, I don't put things in my stories just because I think my prof will like it, but I just, like, my eyes were open to wrists, and now I'm, like, so many wrists up in my collection. I feel like I know so much about drugs because of my writing. I've never done drugs before in my life, but yet I feel like I know so many random things about, like, acid trip because of my stupid characters. See, the one good thing about this rewrite is that I'm cutting the scene with their parents. The original draft of the story, it was just the two of them. Was it? Or were their parents in that story? Wait, maybe their parents were in it. I cannot for the life of me remember. Yeah, their parents were in the story. Sorry, I'm wrong. Their parents were in the story. And they also had younger siblings. And my whole workshop was like, I can't imagine them having younger siblings. Like, I just can't imagine this family having any more children. Because the siblings were substantially younger, and it was like, I just think that they would not have any more children because these two are so messed up. And so when I finished the story, I went to talk to my prof. I'm just going to pause my music. And I told her that I was trying to condense the story as much as possible. So I was going to condense the timeline, which she was like, yes, you should do that, because the timeline was so confusing. And then I also said, I think I'm going to cut every other character, so it's just the two of them. And she said, which I think was true for that draft of the story, and for who I was as a writer. Like, I think she was completely right at the time. She said, you need the parents. She said, because they're either like this because of their parents, or they're not like this because of their parents, but their parents have had to deal with them their entire lives. The parents are important. And she said to me, she was like, what's important is that you make the parents intelligent. Meaning characters with their own goals and wills and everything. So I had this scene with the parents that was not in the original workshop draft, and I was pretty happy with it, actually. Now that I'm rewriting the story, I decided I don't want the parents, and I actually want the story to have that compression where it's literally just the two of them. And I think with the new structure and the new form and my hopefully more advanced fiction writing skills, I think that that will be better for this draft of the story. But I do think she was right in that the last draft of the story did need the parents, but I don't think this version will. So I'm cutting everyone, so it's just going to be the two of them. But the good news is that this scene that I had to write has my least favorite sentence in the story, maybe my least favorite sentence in my collection. I hate this sentence so much. Literally just the sentence, dishes clashed in the sink. It's such a boring sentence. It's not like I hate it because it's boring, it's just so, what's the word I'm looking for? Domestic? It's so domestic in a story that's not domestic at all, and I think that that's one issue with the story, is that some parts of the story take place in their childhood home and have this weird domestic air about them. story, it's fine for a story to have a domestic air, but this story is not meant to have that, and I think it's conflicting with this intensity that's taking place when they're on the mountain trying to burn down a house. So I want to cut all that, and I want to give anything that's not taking place on the mountain the same feeling, the same grittiness, I guess. The same grittiness and intensity. So part of that is getting rid of this weird domestic thing that's happening, and it's kind of subtle, but it's present enough that I think it's infringing on the story. I'm gonna spell this wrong. Anesthetized? How the frick? There we go. Thank you. Spell check. Okay, so I'm currently like 1,000 words in. My computer is still being a pain. I don't know why it's so slow. But yeah, I'm 1,000 words in. I'm gonna compare to see if I've used more words in the first draft or the second draft. At this point in the story, in the last draft, oh, I was at 1,300 words. So I've already saved myself 300 words, which is awesome. I would love to save myself more words. I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out. Like, the prose is obviously very first drafty, and the voice isn't fully refined to where I want it to be yet. I also think this scene is maybe missing a beat or two. Like, it's pretty, like, I think they go from 0 to 100 a little too quick. I probably need a couple more beats of them talking in the scene, which will eat up those 300 words. Basically, I need the 300 words that I cut, but in a more effective and appropriate way for the story. Pretty happy with it. It's currently 10:10 p.m. I wouldn't say the prose is, it's not like my best first draft prose, but it's not the worst. Like, it's just kind of in the middle. I don't want the writing to be too floral because it's a first-person narrative from a very dark-minded character. She is pretty dramatic, if I'm being honest. She's a pretty intense person, but I don't know if I want the writing to be too flowery, because that would not make sense for her as a character. So far the structure has been kind of the same, which isn't really helping my problem. So I want to work on contextualizing things more. I don't know. Structurally, I really don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. I think I'm gonna stop writing for now, for the reason that I don't know what to do from here. Like, I feel like I'm really enjoying writing this, but the issue I'm having at the moment is it's very hard because I'm following the template of the old story, but I don't want to follow this template. Like, I want the structure to be different. I'm not too happy with the structure. So I wonder if from now on I should be trying to write this without looking at the old draft. Like, it's hard because I do like a lot of the prose in the old draft, actually. Even though it's pretty old, I'm actually decently happy with it. But I just don't want to follow its template of how it's laid out. I want the story to hopefully unfold in a more natural way. So I think I'm going to stop writing for now. It's like 10:14 p.m. On a normal day, I would write until like midnight, but my computer's lag is just really bothering me right now, and it's making it really, really, really annoying, and I don't feel like dealing with it. So I think instead I'm just going to go read for a little bit before I go to sleep. Because normally I would write, if I start writing at 8, I'm probably going to write till midnight. Even though I'm having a good time, I just smashed out 1,000 words, which is really nice. So I'm going to go read and probably edit this footage a little bit. That's it for this Write With Me video. I never filmed an outro for this because I thought the footage would be short enough that I would continue it on another day, but it's pretty long, so I want to just cut it off here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd be interested in seeing this in the future, let me know. Personally, I'm actually really happy with how this video turned out, and I'd like to do it again. It was really fun to make. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can always send me an ask on Tumblr, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.